Welcome to Meteorology Matters. After a hurricane hits, the immediate damage is, well, it's plain to see, isn't it? Flooded homes, downed trees. But what about all the stuff? The furniture, the appliances, just everything that gets ruined. Where does it all go? Today, we're looking at a fascinating investigation by the Washington Post. They did something really quite clever. Instead of just talking about tons of waste, they actually put trackers, air tags, on individual items to follow their journey. It's kind of like a real-life treasure hunt, but, for hurricane trash. We have expert speaker with us today who's taken a close look at the Post's findings. When you first saw this approach, tracking the debris like that, what really jumped out at you?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is the sheer scale of the problem. It often goes unseen, doesn't it? After the immediate crisis passes, the Washington Post focused on Treasure Island. It's a small barrier island in Florida, right after Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Now, this tiny place, just 1.54 square miles, generated over 128,000 cubic yards of debris. Yeah, to put that in perspective, that's like 2 million kitchen trash bags from one small island.
2 million trash bags. That's staggering. Okay, let's unpack this. The Post tagged 10 items, right? What were some of the most interesting journeys these things took?
Right. So 3 items really kind of illustrate the whole process, I think. The first one was an office chair. It came from a spa.
Okay.
Because of sewage backup during the storm surge, everything inside was contaminated, what they call Category 3 water or black water, basically toxic stuff.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah, really bad. The owner lost something like an estimated $350,000 in assets. Just wiped out. So this chair, it just sat there for over 40 days before the air tag pinged.
40 days? Where did it end up?
It showed up at the Pinellas County Solid Waste Disposal Complex. That's their main landfill, but it's also a waste-to-energy facility.
Wait, a landfill? I thought maybe hurricane debris had special handling. Was it supposed to go there?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. According to the county's solid waste director, they weren't knowingly taking storm debris there. That place usually handles, regular household and commercial trash. He suggested the chair might have just gotten mixed in accidentally, in all the initial chaos.
Right, the confusion after the storm makes sense.
Exactly. It highlights that initial scramble.
Okay.
And that facility, it's huge. It can burn up to 3,000 tons of trash a day.
3,000 tons?
Yeah. And doing that generates power for about 45,000 homes. So it's actually possible that chair ended up being incinerated, turned into energy.
From a contaminated spa chair to powering someone's lights, That's pretty wild. Okay, what was another item they tracked?
Another really compelling one was a motorized scooter, a 2022 Genuine Scooter RoughHouse 50 specifically.
Okay, a scooter. What happened to it?
The owner got caught in like 4 feet of rushing seawater during the storm, completely flooded it, ruined it. Yeah, his insurance company just deemed it a total loss. Now, get this. Just 1 day after the Post tagged it, it was towed away.
Already? Where to?
To a Copart auto auction lot, about 140 miles away, down in Clewiston.
An auction? They auction hurricane-damaged vehicles?
Apparently so. It was listed with a retail value over $2,300.
Did anyone buy it?
Well, initially no bids, 0. But eventually it did sell. The final price wasn't disclosed, though.
Okay, so someone bought it, then what?
From the auction, it went to a scrap metal recycling facility over in Fort Myers, Trademark Metals Recycling. They mentioned seeing a huge surge in business after the hurricanes, obviously, processing things like appliances, cars, scooters.
The scooter just got shredded.
Yeah.
End of story.
Not quite so simple. Trademark, they remove hazardous materials first, fluids, battery, that kind of thing. Then it goes into their shredder. And these shredders are powerful. They can tear apart a car in just seconds.
Wow.
After shredding, they use huge magnets to pull out the ferrous metals.
Yeah.
The steel, basically, like the scooter's frame.
Okay, got it. Steel gets separated.
Right. And that steel, it was sent to a Nucor Steel Mill. There, it gets melted down and turned into rebar.
Rebar, like for reinforcing concrete.
Exactly, for construction projects all across Florida.
Yeah.
Think new warehouses, maybe hospitals, other buildings.
That is actually incredible. So bits of that storm-wrecked scooter could literally be holding up a brand new building right now.
It's very possible, yeah. A surprising second life, isn't it?
Definitely. What about the air tag itself? Did it get melted down too?
Well, see, that's interesting too. The air tag, which was wrapped in plastic and duct tape, isn't magnetic.
Right.
So when the magnets pulled the steel away, the air tag just kept going with the non-ferrous scrap, like aluminum, copper.
So even that tiny tracker continued its journey through the system.
Precisely. It just shows how complex these recycling streams are,
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned a third item.
Yes. The final one we'll focus on is a satellite TV receiver, like a dish or direct TV box.
Okay, where did that one go?
Its first stop was a park. It had been designated as just a temporary dumping ground for hurricane waste.
A temporary site,
From
right?
there, it was moved to a proper collection facility.
Yeah.
This one was owned by a waste management company called GFL Environmental.
GFL, okay. Big waste company.
Right. And interestingly, the AirTags signal just stopped.
Stopped. Why?
The suggestion is that it might have been crushed or maybe deactivated during the sorting and processing there. These facilities handle massive volumes.
Ah, okay. So the receiver's journey seems a bit more like what you might expect for regular waste disposal.
Exactly. Its path was more, let's say, typical. Collection, temporary holding, then processing by a specialized company contracted by the city, for proper disposal.
It still sounds like an incredibly complex and, frankly, long process overall. The article mentioned cleanup was still happening 5 months after the storms hit.
That's a really crucial takeaway, I think. Even for a relatively small area like Treasure Island, the cleanup takes a huge amount of time and resources.
Just underscores the scale.
It really does. And think bigger. St. Petersburg, the largest city in that county, they cleaned up over 2 million cubic yards of waste.
2 million.
And statewide. The Florida Division of Emergency Management reported over 36 million cubic yards removed after those storms.
46 million cubic yards. It's almost impossible to visualize.
It is. And a lot of this work, it's important to note, is supported by federal funding.
Right.
From FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Right. The cost must be astronomical. This whole tracking experiment, it really shines a light on the hidden side of hurricane recovery, doesn't it? The logistics, the sheer volume of broken lives represented by that debris.
Absolutely.
It makes you think about the long-term effort, long after the news crews have left. What a revealing look at where things actually go after a disaster. It's so easy to just forget about the debris once the trucks haul it away. But the Washington Post, using those air tags, gave us a really compelling window into that whole complex journey. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, I think this investigation raises a really important question for all of us, actually. As these intense storms become potentially more frequent or impact more areas, how do we get better at handling this? How can our waste management processes become more efficient, maybe more sustainable, when faced with just these unbelievable amounts of debris? What kind of innovations might we need, for dealing with hurricane waste in the future?
That's definitely something to chew on, a really critical question for the future. If you found this look into hurricane debris as fascinating as we did, be sure to follow meteorologist Rob Jones. He's on Instagram at meteorologist, on TikTok at TV meteorologist, and on YouTube, just search for Rob Jones Hurricane. You can also find the Meteorology Matters podcast playlist there on his YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Meteorology Matters.